All right, computer science gang, here we go. It's Thursday, rolling on our next little task in e-learning. Today I'm going to ask you to work with the if-else block, and some of you have done it already, but we're going to write two short programs that would involve an if-else condition. And really, it's pretty simple, I think. You set up a condition, and if it is true, you want one thing to happen, and if it's not true, you want something else to happen, and that's where the else comes from. So I'm going to hop over here to code.org, and I'll go to projects, and I'll show you the kind of thing I'm talking about, and I'm going to do a quick run through on this. I've got one here that I've called Horton because it has an elephant in it. And when I run it, my goodness, I'm having issues. I always have issues. When I run it, the elephant really doesn't do anything, but this one is based on mouse position. And if I move my mouse up the screen and get past a certain point, it's reading the location of the mouse. And if the location of the mouse meets a certain condition, you get a change in background color. And if it doesn't, if that condition is not true, you get a different background color. So there's, if this is happening, then I want this, and if it's not happening, I want something else. So that's the kind of thing we're doing today. It doesn't have to be super fancy, right? You'll get all the usual stuff. There's a handout that's coming along with this. It'll be emailed to you. It'll be posted on Google Classroom. There's not a ton on the handout. But let's take a look a little bit at how it's done. All right, so I'm just going to create a new game lab, and I'm going to ask you to do two of these. I'm only going to demo one. I'll show you my second one, but I'm only going to demo one of them. All right, so anyway, I'll just rename this real quick, and I'll call this if else number one, and I'm going to save that. And I'm just going to do this fast. I'll do something like similar to what you just saw. I'm going to go over to the I think I'll just use this Dalmatian this time, and I'll change the name of it real quick here to just Doggy. And all right, back to the code side. I'm not going to do anything real fancy. All right, so to begin with, I'll do all the kind of normal stuff. I will use a create sprite and a set animation. And I'm just going to say that I want that to be Doggy, and I'm going to go ahead and set a background color. I'll just set white for that. I'll go ahead and put in a draw sprites. If I run it right now as it is, the Dalmatian just shows up, in the middle of the screen. Okay, so now this is where I'm going to do the if else, and this is the part that you need to make sure you understand. And some of you maybe already understand it, and you can just go to work, right? But if you need it, here it comes. All right, so I'm going to go to control, and there is an if-else block already here. But if you wish, I'm going to size that a little bit. There's an if-else block down here, or you can just bring over the if block, and I'll show you what you can do. I'm going to drop it in here right after the background command. And to get the else part of it, you can click this little plus sign right here. So either way, right, it doesn't really matter. Now, what I'm going to do is what I showed a minute ago. I'm going to make the computer read the mouse location. And when I move my mouse around, I'll make it trigger an event depending on where the mouse is. So the thing that's going to be useful there, first of all, I'm going to use a math block, and I'm going to go get a less than block, and I'll stick it into the conditional statement right there, into the if. Okay. Now I'm going to go to the world drawer, and way down here at the bottom, there's this world.mouse y is what I'm going to use, and you could do x. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, and this is just the y location of the mouse. As I move my mouse around, the computer will read where it is, and I can set a condition. So I'm going to say if the y location, the up-down location of the mouse is less than 200, that's going to be my marker, right? That's going to be the trigger. If I move the mouse up to the top half of the screen, I want one thing to happen. If I move it down past the 200 mark, which would be halfway down, I want a different thing to happen. And all I'm going to do, and you could do something more complicated if you want, I'm just trying to keep it simple. All right, all I'm going to do is change the background color. I'll say, okay, if the Y value of the mouse is less than 200, let's make the background red. if the Y value of the mouse is not less than 200, I want to do something else. I'll just make it blue. Do whatever you like, right? Or if you're thinking, I just want to get done, just steal my idea, right? Do something similar. All right, I'm going to reset that and run it. And so now you watch, if I move my mouse, if I'm up at the top, I have it pointing up at the top, the background's red. But as I move my mouse down, once I move past a certain location, which, by the way, I defined in the program, so when I move the mouse past a certain location, it switches. All right, so that's kind of how you can use an if-else. If the condition is true, I want one thing. If it's not true, I want something else, and that's the way to think about it. If it's true, I want this, and if it's not true, I want something else. There it is. So that one's done. Now I'm just going to show you my other one. I did too, but I'll just show you my other one. Let that load up here, and I've got this thing called confused plane. All right, so we'll look at the code here for a second. I've got a plane, and I set a background color. Now this one, if you'll look at my if block, it's reading the keyboard, and so the thing it's checking is if the space bar is down. You can see that in the if block. All right, so if the space bar is being held down, something's going to happen. If it is being held down, if that's true, then you see plane.x equal plane.x plus 10. Now that's movement to the right. It's going to move to the right. The else part of it is plane.x equal plane.x minus 10. That's movement to the left. So if the space bar is not being pressed down, it should move to the left. If it is being pressed down, it should move to the right. Well, let's check that out, and let's see if it works. I'm going to size that a little bit, and I'll hit my run button. And you can't even see my plane to begin with because it kind of took off. But now press the space bar, let go. I press, I let go, press, let go, press, let go. So whenever I press the space bar, it does move to the right. And when I let go of the space bar, it moves to the left. So again, the thing that is the condition is the space bar being pressed. If it is being pressed, I want to add 10 to the Y value. If it's not being pressed, I want something else to happen, and the thing that I wanted to have happen was let's subtract 10 from the Y value, and it goes to the left. So I'm going to ask you to write two different programs. Goodbye, airplane. I'm going to ask you to write two different programs, and the thing that they have to have is this if-else. That's what I'm going to be looking for. They don't have to be super fancy. Just kind of got to show me that you got your brain wrapped around that. If else. All right, good luck. Let me know if you have trouble. Off you go.